Alice Paul, a vocal leader of the 20th century, broke barriers by advocating for and helping secure passage of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, granting women the right to vote. The 19th Amendment guarantees all women the right to vote. This amendment states that the right of citizens to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. Before the 19th Amendment, women were denied some of the basic rights that males had. One example would be that married women could not own property. They also had no legal claim to any money that they may have earned. They wanted it because it was fair. They believed that those who must obey the law should have a voice in making them. They thought those who pay taxes should have a vote as to the size of the tax and the way it shall be spent. Women wanted the right to vote because laws unjust to women would be amended more quickly. It leads to fair treatment of women in public service and because it would make women more broad-minded. In 1848, the movement of women's rights launched on a national level. This started the Seneca Falls Convention. After the convention, the movement for women's rights to vote heated up. Stanton and Mott, along with Susan B. Anthony and other activists, raised public awareness and lobbied the government to grant voting rights to women. This prompted the creation of several organizations that focused on educating the public and pushing the government to extend the right to vote to women. The movement declined during the Civil War. Paul's first objective was organizing a parade and pageant designed to draw attention to the suffrage movement. Her objective was focusing national attention on the women's suffrage issue. The day before Woodrow Wilson's first inauguration, on March 3, 1913, Paul organized a women's suffrage parade of more than 8,000 participants from every state in the Union. The march drew 500,000 spectators, but as the day progressed, some onlookers began assaulting the marchers. Some spectators harassed and some supported Alice Paul and Lucy Burns in the march. The police did little to stop the attack. Despite the violence, the parade succeeded in obtaining Paul's objective. Daily picketing outside the White House began January 10, 1917. Paul and over 1,000 silent sentinels began 18 months of picketing the White House, standing at the gates with signs that read, "Mr. President, how long must women wait for liberty?" Between June 1917 and November 1917, 218 protesters from 26 different states were arrested and charged with obstructing sidewalk traffic. Of those arrested, 97 spent time either the Occoquan Workhouse in Virginia or in the District of Columbia jail. President Wilson maintained decorum, greeting the protesters with the tip of his hat as he rode through the White House gates. Wilson's attitude towards the amendment changed when the U.S. entered World War I. Few believed that suffragists would dare to picket a wartime president, let alone use the war in their written censure, calling him Kaiser Wilson. Many saw the suffragists' wartime protests as unpatriotic, and the sentinels, including Alice Paul, were attacked by angry mobs. Paul was sentenced to 7 months in prison, where she and her companions demanded to be treated as political prisoners and staged hunger strikes. Their demands were met with brutality, as suffragists, including older women, were beaten, pushed down, and thrown into cold, unsanitary, and rat-infested cells. For staging hunger strikes, Paul and several other suffragists were forcibly fed in the torturous method. Prison officials removed Paul to the sanitarium in hopes of getting her declared insane. When news of the prison conditions and hunger strike became known, the press, some politicians, and the public began demanding the women's release. This brought sympathy for the prisoners and brought many to support the cause of women's suffrage. January 1918, Wilson announced his support for the suffrage. It took 2 more years of the Senate, House, and the required 36 states to approve the amendment. August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment was ratified. Most anti-suffrage women and men were wealthy and privileged women, along with politically powered women. They were sometimes called anti-suffragists or governmentalists. They believed that the government recognized a woman's right to vote, she would no longer take care of herself. The antis viewed suffrage as angry killjoys who wanted to intrude on politics. the proper realm of men. They believed that women didn't need the right to vote because men could conduct government for both sexes. They believed the vote couldn't fix any injustice women suffered, husband or children either. Some women became antis because they feared electoral politics would erode their ability to do good works. Josephine Dodge was a political anti-suffrage woman. She formed the National Association opposed to women's suffrage. This group believed women's suffrages would decrease women's work and communities. As an anti, she faced accusations that she was a political cat's paw. After women won the right to vote with the 19th Amendment in 1920, Paul devoted herself to working on additional empowerment measurements. Women's suffragists knew that their work was not done. Many women still face discrimination in their society. Paul and other members of the National Women's Party drafted the Equal Rights Amendment. In 1923, she introduced the first Equal Rights Amendment in Congress. The amendment would guarantee equal rights to all women regardless of their gender. The Equal Rights Amendment was ratified by both houses of Congress in the 1970s, but it failed to get adequate support from the states. Congress passed the Equal Pay Act in 1963, making it illegal to pay women less for doing the same job as men. Not only were they fighting for equal rights, but they were fighting for changes in divorce laws and an end of pay discrimination. Alice Paul made an impact in many ways on the United States. One impact she had was her role in the suffragist movement. Another impact she had was how she helped secure the 19th Amendment. She endured physical pain and kept fighting for the 19th Amendment. Although much smaller than before, the National Women's Party still stands proud today. The National Women's Party regrouped in 1997 and focused their cause on educating the public of the importance of women's equality. One major goal of this group was to get Paul's Equal Rights Amendment passed. Paul's legacy has also created a great improvement in the women's success and rights today. For example, once women were seen as equal, they were allowed to better education, which increased the numbers of graduating females. Women have also made progress. However, they are yet to be seen equal as men. The 19th Amendment guaranteed all women the right to vote. Without the amendment, women would still be discriminated against today. More than 26 million women had their citizenship affirmed and gained a mechanism of empower themselves, their families, and their communities with this law being passed. This amendment increased availability of higher planning services and supplies. This also allowed more women to enroll in higher education and interprofessional occupation. This amendment allowed for us to move closer to equality in all aspects of the American life. Women are still facing discrimination today. They are discriminated against in jobs and pay. There is a wage gap between men and women, which has also led to a hiring bias against women. Even when women receive higher positions, they still get paid less than men. Throughout the U.S. workforce, women remain underpaid. Among full-time workers, women earned less than 81 cents for every dollar a man earned in 2016. Women are also facing more sexual assault and sexual harassment. This led to the Me Too movement that started in 2006. The Me Too is aimed to stop sexual harassment and sexual assault. Passing the 19th Amendment broke the barriers between men and women. Women could no longer be discriminated against. By passing the 19th Amendment changed the economy. It changed the way of life in many different ways all across the United States.